today we are going to discuss about the root crops. So we know the major root crops, only four major root crops we generally talk about is carrot, beetroot, turnip and radish. Other root crops we don't consider. In exam point of view, these are the most important root crops. And we are going to see the different important aspects of these crops today. If there is any disturbance, if it is not audible, just let me know as soon as possible. So firstly, the botanical classification. We all know that the scientific names, which are very important in not only in exam point of view, when you got to know about the crop, it is very important that we know the scientific names, the family, the edible part, origin, and the chromosome number. So very easy to remember. You remember by family wise, like you remember the section wise root crops all together, the chromosome number scientific. You should remember one at one stretch, like it should come in one column for you. And nextly, if it is bulb crops all together, if it is solanaceae all together, you just have to divide itself like that, so that it will be easy for you to understand and remember also. Because here you can see all carrot, radish, beetroot all have 18 as the chromosome number. Only turnip varies, and generally we don't grow turnip also, so 2 extra you can remember, like 20. And carrot, Afghanistan, radish as Mediterranean, and beetroot turnip also the same. So you can see here more similarities if you read as a group wise. We all know the scientific name, so I'll not read that. But coming to the edible part, in radish both roots and leaves are edible. Actually in carrot also the leaves are edible and are used as fodder in many parts of the world. And even the other, like turnip and beetroot also, they are edible, but we don't eat. Only radish leaves are mostly consumed in our country and other parts of the world as well. Nextly, coming to the introduction, we all know about carrot, but the most important point is it is also called as poor man's ginseng. And China is the leading producer of carrot, and the carrot taste is mainly due to the presence of glutamic acid. The sugar that is present in carrot is sucrose. And a good quality carrot should have a maximum of cortex and a minimum of core. So these days we what is the main breeding objective is to create coreless carrot varieties, so that the core length is very much as low as possible. So it is called as poor man's ginseng, and China is the leading producer. Taste is due to glutamic acid. Sugar is mostly the sucrose, and the cortex and the core should be minimum. Nextly, coming to radish, it is the genus Raphanus is a Greek word which means quickly appearing. Why is it so? Because radish is very easily, if you put the seeds within, like it germinates very early, whatsoever the conditions, even in stones, if you put it, also it will come up. So it is very easily growable, irrespective of the temperature and the climate conditions prevailing. It will come up very easily and very early also. So Raphanus is a Greek word which means quickly appearing. So it's a root come leafy vegetable, with the major sugar being in here glucose. You can remember, glucose powder is generally white in color, so you can just remember radish has glucose as sugar, whereas carrot has sucrose. And the pungency is due to glucosinolates or isothiocyanates, which is nothing but the same, because it belongs to the it is close a relative of other Brassicaceae members, so it contains the pungency compounds as glucosinolates and isothiocyanates. Nextly, beetroot, so it is also called as stable beet or beetroot, whereas sugar beet or other synonymous names which we are generally get confused with beetroot are not its names. So they are different, slightly different, belonging to the same family. So beetroot is called as the table beet, and it is rich in folic acid. And turnip is a very popular vegetable when it comes to certain parts of the country, but not in our South India. But in North India, you see turnips very here and there. Nextly, coming to the uses, we all know the normal uses, that is gajar ka halwa, but the most important thing is kanji. Kanji is a fermented beverage that is prepared from carrot, and it is good for appetite. And it is also used as forage, like forage for feeding, as I have already mentioned that. And raw carrots, we know how we eat the pickling, they can be made into curries and all. But the most important point here is kanji, which is fermented beverage, and it is generally prepared with black carrots, and it is good for appetite. Nextly, the radish, which is used for curing the liver and gallbladder related diseases. It is very good for liver. Radish, kidney and liver problems are mostly radish is mostly used for kidney kidney and liver related problems. So it is also used in many homeopathic medicines. And urinary complaints, as I have already mentioned, that it is good for kidney. So all the urinary and piles, so constipation related problems also, radish is used. And nextly, it is like any other root crop, it is also used as raw or as pickle or in any culinary purpose. And the seeds are potential source of fatty oils, so they are edible and used in soap industry. So radish seeds are used in soap industry because of the presence of fatty oils in them. So again, once again, so it is good for liver and gallbladder and urinary complaints and piles. And nextly, seeds are used in soap industry. These three can be the most important points. And coming to beetroot, which is very rich in folic acid, very rich in folic acid. There are very less number of crops, vegetables that are actually rich in folic acid. So you should be able to remember this. So that is beetroot, which is as any other crop, the edible purpose we know, it is a pot herb with nothing, all the leafy vegetables or the root vegetables are actually pot herbs and used as greens actually. Pot herb is nothing but a leafy vegetable. Leafy vegetables are called as greens or the pot herbs. So large size beets are used for canning purposes. If it is large, then canning purpose. Not even actually very small beets are also used for canning purpose, or very large beets are used for canning purposes. Nextly, coming to turnip, which is also extensively used as fodder. So whatsoever it is, if you're not eating it, then the animals will eat it. So the upper portion, it goes for fodder purpose, and mostly the other cooking characteristics, but not any much specific ones. Coming to the morphology, so very much familiar, like all of you must have already read the botany and the floral biology. So this is the carrot. Here we have the carrot seed. So anybody can reply, what is carrot seed, like what is it called botanically? And nextly, this is the microscopic view of carrot seed, so which we generally see like this is actually like this. And this is the carrot umbel, we know that's the reason it is you can see it, the same like onion also belongs to the same family. The onion flowers are also much similar like this, and the carrot seedlings. And this is radish. So we have different colors in radish as well. You can see this is more close to Brassicaceae members because of the family being the same. So the flowers are mostly like any other like cabbage or cauliflower, but the color of the flower is little different, that's it. So nextly, the leaves of radish and the pods of radish. If you see the pods of radish, you can also remember the bulbils of garlic. Actually, they are a little more similar to this, and these are the seeds. And nextly, the beetroot, these seedlings of beetroot, and the spike of the beet spike. And we can see that the flowers are actually sessile in nature. That is, there is no stalk of the flower. They are sessile. There is no stalk. So here you can see the beet fruits, which is actually a seed ball. Means in 2 to 8 seeds are there. So thinning is a very important practice when it comes to root crops, because and nextly in beetroot it is more important practice because each seed actually contains 2 to 8 seeds in it. So here it is a multi-germ seed. Nextly, the turnips look similar to the beetroot, but it is not. Nextly, here are the turnip leaves and seedlings. You can see a slight pubescence over here, and you can differentiate based on the flowers, the typical family characteristics you can see in the flower. And next, the root, or the food that you have, root crops are major. Why? Because red color carrots are rich in lycopene, orange color carrots for beta carotene, which is a precursor of vitamin A, purple for anthocyanin, yellow for xanthophylls or lutein. So very important, you don't get confused with the purple and red. So red is for lycopene and purple for anthocyanins, yellow for xanthophylls, and orange for beta carotene. And most important, and there are also white carrots. And does anybody know what are white carrots rich in? This question was asked for me in IRA interview when I went. White carrots are rich in dash. So I want to answer for this. And also I asked the seed, what is the seed called for carrot seed is called, that also you can answer. Nextly, pigments in radish. So pink, red, and purple here, or for pink for red color, it is not the typical lycopene, it is the pelargonidin or rifanucin. So remember this, the red color of radish is due to pelargonidin or the rifanucin. And the other colors, that is pink, pink, red, and purple, that is anthocyanin. Here red means red, you are saying pelargonidin and you are also saying anthocyanin. It is just a tinge of this purplish, very, it's not the typical red, but the purplish red. Nextly, the pigments in beetroot. So red violet pigments are due to beta cyanins, and yellow color is due to beta xanthins. Be very careful, cyanins and xanthins for yellow color, and red and violet here are for beta cyanins. One thing is like very important, all these colors can come into bits. All those points which I have just now said are actually bits only. Like these are all the type of questions that come in exam. Nextly, the nutrient composition in the root crops. So this generally nobody asks in exam, so not so important. But you can see that carrot also contains vitamin C up to 3 mg, and it's a rich source of carbohydrate as well. So what we generally think, it is rich in carotene, but it is also rich in vitamin C, carbohydrates. Nextly, radish, which is also rich in carbohydrates and vitamin C. Radish is rich in vitamin C. You can see that is 15 mg. So radish being rich in vitamin C, which is very much good quantity, actually 15 mg. And nextly, beetroot. Coming to beetroot, beetroot is a good source of vitamin C, phosphorus, and calcium. And nextly, these three things are more important, because whatever minerals or elements that are actually important for you, health point of view, are the things that you have to remember in the crop. Now, not anything more than that. You need not remember the moisture, fiber content, mineral content, but those vitamins or minerals that are actually important for our dietary things, you need to remember in the crop. Nextly, turnip. And after turnip, we have the botanical varieties of root crops. In that, radish is the garden European occidental small cool radishes are called as Raphanus sativus variety radicula. Garden European occidental small. So you can just actually all these names, synonymous names, because we can say occidental world is European countries are actually called as occidental world. So they are in history, if you see. So European or occidental, and garden culture, gardening also has come from Europe. So you can say garden because kitchen gardening and all. So garden is also Europe. And small cool radishes, cool temperatures, and because of cool temperatures, the size of the root will be very small. For us, the roots will be very, very big, because there is a lot of sun, the photosynthetic activity because of the solar energy, and the roots are very big in size for us, but they are not so big in case of the other part of the world, that is the European part of the world. So the garden European occidental or the small cool season radishes are Raphanus sativus variety radicula. Whereas the oil seed fodder radish is Raphanus sativus variety oilifera. So you can remember here oil. So oil we don't eat. So it is something like fodder. Oil or fodder is oiliferous. And rat tail or mowgri radish is Raphanus sativus variety caudatus. Actually, caudatus means actually tail. So here in the name it means rat tail radish or mowgri radish. So it is caudatus. Black radish is, name itself says, Niger. So Raphanus sativus variety Niger. And the Indian radish that we generally grow is the Raphanus indicus. Chinese radish is Raphanus sativus variety longipinnatus. And Japanese is sativus variety Raphanosteroides. Raphanosteroides is nothing but the origin of radish also. So Japanese radish, that is Raphanosteroides. So this is the rat tail radish. You can see the siliqua like thing. It looks like the siliqua like thing, right? Nextly, coming to beetroot. So the ancestor of beetroot is Beta vulgaris variety, the species Maritima. The leaf beet chard, that is Beta vulgaris species Cycla, and the sugar beet, garden beet, or the fodder beet is Beta vulgaris species vulgaris that we generally consume. The garden beet, the fodder beet, the table beet, the table beet or the sugar beet that we generally consume is the Beta vulgaris species vulgaris, and the ancestor is Maritima, and the leaf beet chard is Beta vulgaris species Cycla. And nextly, the turnip, the sweet turnip or variety, Napo brassica, which we generally call as Brassica napus. The classification and varieties of root crops, if you come, firstly the firstly the carrot. So based on the shape, we have, these kind of questions are important in written questions of ARS kind of thing. So classification of vegetables, classification of carrot, classification of cabbage, these kind of questions are generally 2-mark questions in that they will ask in case of exams. So based on the shape of radish, based on the shape of the roots, the carrot is classified into long, half long, and short stump rooted. In that, long means more than 25 centimeters of length. And if it is, these perform best in light soils. Why light soils? Because in light soils there is more proliferation. The light soils are very porous, and hence there is more scope for the root to grow long. So these kind of roots generally come up well in light soils, and 25 centimeters in length. That you have to remember. Nextly, half long rooted means roots are generally cylindrical to tapering end. That means the tip region means they are not very long. Half long type, it's a name as it says, it is half long. It is not as long as the long rooted varieties. Half long will be almost 15 centimeters or around 15 centimeters, and these roots have two types. That is, either its tip is cylindrical in nature or the tip is round in nature. So if cylindrical tip, then example is Nantes, and for tapering or blunt, we have Chantonnay and Imperator as varieties. So you can remember they can ask the cylindrical. Nantes is very, very typical in its shape. Like in market, we all see Nantes only, the typical small carrots that we see. So this Nantes, they will ask the cylindrical roots. So this is important, the cylindrical roots Nantes. In the tapering and blunt tip, they won't ask. Short stumped roots, that is suitable for heavy soil because there is no scope for the root to grow. So heart shaped will be the ox heart, name itself says. And for oval, you have an example of early scarlet horn, and round you have French forcing. Oval, nobody will ask you in exam. Only again they will ask heart shaped, that is ox heart, or round, that is French forcing. These two they will ask. Again, Nantes cylindrical they will ask. That's it. Nextly, here we can see the different roots. Nantes, as I told you, the typical cylinder. You see all these carrots, only small carrot. If you are seeing in the market, then it is Nantes actually. And Chantonnay, which is very typical, like it is tapering here and it is blunt. Suddenly it is blunt. It is not growing. And next is the long Imperator, which is very long, and Danvers, Mini, and Baby. You can see these roots here. So the Nantes variety in image, and the early scarlet horn, which is oval, which nobody will ask you in exam. Nextly, it is Imperator. You can see very long roots. Here we have French forcing, which I have told round shaped variety. You can see it looks like something beetroot or turnip, but it is a carrot. Next, ox heart, which is ox shaped variety. Nextly, if this very important classification based on the temperature responses, that was based on the length. This is based on the temperature responses. So what is that? The Asiatic and the European carrots. So our Asiatic carrots means those which we grow in the Oriental means Asian, Japanese side countries are called as Oriental countries. There are Occidental countries are the European. That's why the radish was called as Occidental or European or garden radish. But now similarly here, these are also called as Oriental carrots and Occidental carrots also, you can call them Asian and European. So coming to the Oriental, so do not require any low temperature for flowering, because our these are generally, they are adaptable to the normalized temperatures, not high temperatures. High temperature means it is, I'm not talking about 35 and above. I am just talking which is around 25 degrees. So they do not require any specific chilling requirement to get into the next stage of flowering. They can flower under the normal prevailing temperature of 25 degrees as well. And whereas European carrots, they require a vernalization period or a cold stimulus of 4.8 to 10 degrees temperature for the flowering. Nextly, the Asiatic carrots are generally seeds freely in the plains because it does not require any certain cool temperature stimulus. It it will, after the rooting phase is completed, it will go to the reproductive phase, and it will generally continue it without any obstruction. But this European carrots don't do like that. If they do not get this required temperature of 4.8 to 10 degrees for a required amount of time, they do not set flowers, they do not set the seeds. Nextly, suitable for tropical and subtropical conditions. So because under normalized temperature or high temperature, high means compared to European high, that's it, not the norm, but it is generally the normalized temperature. So suitable because they perform well in the normalized temperature, they are suitable for tropical and subtropical climatic conditions. And nextly, these are European types are suitable for the temperate climatic conditions. Generally, our carrots Asiatic are annuals, because after means what is annual? It completes its phase in a in one season or one time, the phrase. So our carrots complete the rooting phase. After that, they complete the rooting phase and they enter the second phase. So we are completing the phrase. One stage is completed and then it enters to the next stage. So that's why our carrots are generally annual in nature, and we do not go for the flowering and seed set. We harvest after completion of one season, whereas European carrots are biennial in nature. They do not go to the next stage of seed production, but they, after rooting also, they continue the growth. Roots of generally our roots are conical in shape. Because of the high temperature, they have more scope to grow, so they grow deep into the roots, so they are generally conical in shape, whereas those European carrots are blunt in shape. And generally, not only all the root crops will be smaller in size in European countries. Why? Because the temperatures are very low, the soil temperatures are much lower than the air temperature, so there is no scope for growing. That is the reason you can remember that they are blunt in nature, and ours are conical in nature, they can grow more. And nextly, the our means Asiatic, so early maturing and more anthocyanin. Why early maturing? Because of high sun, even we age early. Then what is a plant? So early maturing because it can complete its life cycle without any obstruction, and with high because all the photosynthetic rate, all the temperatures are convenient for its growth. So we go when the high temperature is there, photosynthesis is high, the growth is high, then automatically senescence also comes very early. So it is early maturing and more in anthocyanin content, whereas those in European countries are late maturing, because under winter season, if you put leafy vegetable also, it takes about 3 weeks to germinate. So it is slow growing and hence late maturing, and more in carotene. So their roots are generally orange in color because of the presence of carotene in them. And our roots, you can see our roots are very long and reddish in color. They're very sweet in taste. So our carrots are generally high in sugar content, and their carrots are generally low in sugar content as well. Because why they are high? Because our photosynthetic rate is high, because of which the accumulation of synthates is high, which gets converted, because at high temperature it gets hydrolyzed, and we have more sugar content than their roots. Nextly, coming to the varieties of carrot. So Pusa Kesar, a natural hybrid between Nantes and Chantonnay. It is a natural hybrid between Nantes and Chantonnay. Pusa Kesar, which is tolerant to high temperature and generally sown for September to November. Whatsoever root crop it is, it will be sown in the winter season only, and it will be whatever winter season crop you want to start. You don't start in December, because December is the peak winter. You will be starting whatever crop it is a winter season crop, means you should get the harvest in winter season. If you want to get the harvest in peak winter season, then you should sow it in before the winter starts, that is September itself. So September to mid-November. Self-cored variety is nothing but the core size is comparatively less, then they are called as self-cored or scoreless varieties. Richer in carotene content. No need of amount, then nobody is going to ask how much it is there, and matures in 80 to 90 days. Whatsoever the tuber crop like potato has different like early, mid, late, but these root crops are very good. There is no much variation in them. Whatsoever crop it is, it will complete maximum in 120 days, 100 days, that's it. 80 to 90 days is standard, or it will take 10-15 days depending upon the climatic conditions, but it will complete very early. Like 3 months means 3 months. Pusa Meghali, which is also a self-colored core with short tops, and it is 100 to 120 days maturing. And as the length increases, you can remember, as the length increases, the time taken for maturing also increases, but nobody is going to ask you how many days it will mature in exam. Leave it. So nextly, it is a self-colored variety or self-cored variety. That is important. Selection number 29, which was released from PAU Ludhiana, and it is a selection from a local variety, generally tapering, thin and light red variety, which is generally long. So it is thin means it will obviously be long. Selection 233, which is an hybrid between Nantes into number 29. So the above number 29, when it was crossed with Nantes, then it is selection 233. Nextly, can I know who is that Jay Matadi in the group, please? I'll ask afterwards. Okay. So yes, selection 233 is a cross between hybridization. Am I audible or not? Anybody can respond. Hello.
Audible,
Yes,
ma'am.
you're audible.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So hybridization between Nantes and number 29. Nextly. Yeah, next is Pusa Yamdagni, which is very it is mostly grown for high, like under South Indian conditions. If you want to grow any Pusa variety, then they will recommend Pusa Yamdagni, because they say it is a temperate type, but it actually very well comes in many South Indian places also. They grow Pusa Yamdagni actually. So it was developed by research station at Cochrane, and the roots are generally orange in color, and it is also most of the hybrids that come up will be self-cored varieties or the self-colored varieties, because what is their breeding objective is so that they have the improvement. So what is the major improvement we want? That is more of cortex than the core. So most of the hybrids will be self-colored varieties or self-cored varieties. But in case of NET exam and all, they will ask, they'll give everything, like all the 4 options will be self-cored, but they will still ask which one is self-cored. I think when it comes to specific characters of the varieties, then a NET exam will have those questions more. They will give the variety, they'll ask the characteristics, and almost all those varieties we cannot remember like which character is there in which varieties. At least 2-3 questions like that will come in NET exam actually. So temperate type, but I in my practical experience, I have seen Pusa Yamdagni coming up very well in South Indian conditions also. Next is Nantes half long. So which is Nantes, already we have seen that they are short stumpy roots. So here also it is cylindrical short stumpy roots which are orange in color. And nextly early Nantes, the Nantes itself is exotic. So specifically mentioning early Nantes is exotic is nothing, but generally Nantes itself is exotic. Roots are cylindrical and thin, small tailed, and 12 to 15 centimeters. As I have already told that half long varieties are generally 12 to 15 centimeters maximum. And the Chantonnay has blunt tip. We have already seen in the first images itself. Excellent cultivar for caning and storage because they are small in size. I have already mentioned that beetroot also, either very small ones are used for direct canning, means they will put in sugar syrup or salt syrup after blanching. They will just can it and they will sell it, or it should be very big so that they can cut into pieces and then they can cane it. So Chantonnay is very small, and you will read the same bit in post harvest again, that which caning variety carrot best for, and that is nothing but Chantonnay. So reddish orange colored roots, which is 11 to 15 centimeters in length. So Imperator, already we have seen in the image also, they are very long roots. You can see here 15 to 17.5 centimeters roots with a 2.5 to 4.5 centimeter diameter and very tapering roots. So you should remember seeing this Imperator image. This is the 4th time I'm showing the image of Imperator. Next is Zeno, which is introduced from Germany, and it is popular in Nilagiri Hills. So Nilagiri Hills, and nextly, roots are deep orange with self-colored core, famous quality and for its quality and flavor. Next, other varieties, if we talk about in carrot, they are Pusa Nainajoti. Why Nainajoti is important? Because it was developed as a CMS variety, and it's the first temperate carrot hybrid developed using CMS. Nextly, Pusa Vasudha, which is a first tropical carrot. You have to remember Nayana Jyoti temperate, whereas Vasudha is tropical. And both of them are developed through CMS. Nayana Jyoti is temperate, Vasudha is tropical, but both of them are developed through CMS, and only these two are there. We have many CMS in carrot, like though very important actually, but not in exam point of view, but those questions actually will come in ARS and all. So there it is important, but yeah, Naina Jyoti and Vasudha. Nextly, Ashita is the first black carrot variety in India, and Meghali, we have already seen the image also, which is rich in vitamin A, and Pusa Kesari, which is Kesar. You have to be very in the varieties. Pusa Kesari is different, Pusa Kesar is different. I'm like now as I'm misusing the words, you should not do it like that, because you have to be very specific in remembering them, because in exam they will give the option of both Kesar and Kesari. Then it is very important that we be very specific in learning. So tolerant to high temperature. Here we see the Naina Jyoti, the first temperate CMS released variety. Pusa Ashita, the first black carrot of India. Pusa Rudhira, which is a lycopene rich variety. You see generally it is red in color. People think it is like reddish pink, so we think it is anthocyanin rich variety, but actually it is a lycopene rich variety, Pusa Rudhira. So that is the reason I have mentioned it. And nextly Pusa Payasa, which is a mustard colored variety. It seems to be a little white here, but it's not actually white, it's a mustard color variety. And nextly varieties of radish. So coming to radish, we have a same here also, the Asiatic and European. In Asiatic we have Pusa Desi, the roots are pure white. So our roots are generally very white in color compared to the European type. So our roots are pure white with 30 to 35 centimeters, see, very long, because in our like Asiatic side the roots can grow very long, and that too if it is radish, it grows so robustly, like leek, it grows so big, even it grows so big. So suitable for sowing in August and October. Compare it to the other root crops like the beetroot, radish, and beetroot, turnip, and carrot. Radish is little temperature tolerant, so it can be grown in the months of August, October. Actually, it can grow year round, but in exam point of view, we have to be very specific. So it is mid August to early October. So tolerant to slightly high temperature, as I have already mentioned, and it grows maturity in 50 to 55 days. We were talking about 100 days at least for carrot, not only for carrot, but the beetroot and the turnip also come into the same place of about 100 days, 90 to 100 days. But whereas for the radish, it comes just within 60 days. It is so, that's the reason the name Raphanus has come for it. And nextly Pusa Chetki, which is a selection from Denmark, and the roots are medium, large, and stumpy with the which can be sown in the months of March to August. So it is like high temperature resistant. That's the reason we are sowing in the months of March to August. Nextly, suitable for hotter months. That's the reason Chetki, hotter months. Then because it is hot, the growth is much more. The temperature rises, the activity of the plants raises. So it comes to maturity much earlier. That is 40 to 50 days after sowing. Next is Pusa Reshmi, which is also again it comes to winter seasons, like, but September, October, before September, August, September means it's temperature tolerant only. So it is slightly high temperature tolerant with 55 to 60 days. Nishant, which is a multiple disease resistant variety of radish, Nishant. So it is also resistant to Pithinus, premature bolting, root branching, and forking. So it is mostly high temperature resistant. You can remember like that. That's the reason why it is resistant to other physiological disorders like Pithinus, premature bolting, and root branching. So you have to know the difference between Pithinus, premature bolting, branching, and all. This I will tell in the coming up slides. So you remember only one thing here, that is Nishant, which is multiple disease resistant variety. Next is Japanese white. So it is originally known as Shiragu Kayo, released by IRI as a Japanese white. So they have bought this Japanese white. They have after the adaptation, after the selection, they have released it as Japanese white. The roots are generally 25 to 30 centimeters long. This is not so important. Sown in the months of October to December. See, you can see here, this is more requiring little more of cold cold temperatures. Like October to December means it requires more of cold temperatures, but the maturity is very early, that's 45 days. These and all you need not remember so typically, just as a rough, because I'm now saying these, you can just hear once. After that, when you turn the pages, you just read it once. Just a rough knowledge of the characteristics is enough. Only typical and specific characteristics should be remembered. Rest you can just remove from your memory. Next is European types. When we come to the European types, for the first one is Pusa himani, that is radish black into Japanese white. So radish black into Japanese white, that is Pusa himani. It is the only variety which can be grown throughout the year. So throughout the year, they say only variety, but I feel all the varieties of radish can be grown, but in exam point of view, Pusa himani. Nextly, we have the white icicle, which is tender variety. You can see how tender it is. As the name itself says, it is looking itself, it looks so fresh and tender. So it's a very tender and soft variety compared to others, and mature just in 30 days. Nextly, Scarlet Globe. Scarlet Globe, all the European varieties, you can see they are taking just 25 days, 30 days. Just now you said that at high temperatures, the maturity comes so early, but here all the European varieties are maturing in less than 30 days. That is because they are generally, European varieties are very small and shorter than the Asiatic ones. To grow 25-30 centimeters is just taking the 2 months. When it has to grow half of it is taking half of the time only. That's the reason they are maturing early, but the size is also comparatively very small, the European radishes. So the Scarlet Globe, the round in shape, 2 centimeters in diameter almost, and Scarlet Globe, as the name indicates, it's globy in shape. And nextly, inside it is white in color, but the peel is actually the peel is anthocyanin rich. That's the reason it's looking purplish red. Nextly, Scarlet Long, which is also an early variety. Nextly, IIVR varieties, that is Kashi Shweta and Kashi Hans. New varieties like Pusa Jamuni, Pusa Mrudula, Pusa Gulabi, Palam Hruday. So Pusa Gulabi is anthocyanin rich variety. Palam Hruday is also anthocyanin rich variety. Pusa, all the four are anthocyanin rich. Pusa Jamuni, Pusa Mrudula, Pusa Gulabi, and Palam Hriday. And IIVR released varieties, as the name itself says, that Kashi Shweta and Kashi Hans are white in color. Nextly, here we can see the Pusa Gulabi Jamuni. As I told, they are anthocyanin rich. They are little pinkish in tinge, and the rapid red white tipped. And nextly, the Pusa Mrudula, which is also generally red in color. The special features about the important varieties, some important varieties, is Pusa Sukha. The name says Sukha, and it has green shoulders. So we generally think it is greening. No, it's not greening. The Pusa Sukha has green shoulder radish varieties. And Pusa Sagarika, name says Sagar, which is blue in color. The radish is flush. The flush, not the peel. The flush itself is purple in color. The flush, remember the difference between the flush and the peel. The Pusa Sagarika, the first purple flushed variety. And Pusa Vidhu, which is a white colored and long staying capacity. So Vidhu, or you can remember like Vibhuti stays for a long time. So it is a long staying capacity wala radish. Next, coming to beetroot. If you classify beetroot, then we have the classification as flat, short, round shaped, round or globular, half long, and long shaped. The flat, name itself says flat Egyptian is the example. Short top shape means it should look like a top. The top which we play. So this is gross, actually that is gross by, I have written P, okay, gross by Egyptian, early wonder, as grow wonder. So you might have a doubt like, I have to remember all this. You have to remember all this if you are going for a written exam, but not in the objective exam. For case of objective exam, you just try to remember flat. Egyptian is flat, name says flat, so it should be a flat one. The other things, if the name has the characteristic like rapid red white tipped, so the name itself says that it has red color and white color on it. So if the name says such kind of things, you need to remember. Here ash grow wonder, you need not remember all this, but this cross by Egyptian you have to remember, which is a short top shaped variety. And round and globular winter keeper, no need to remember in specific all these, just try to read number of times. If you're remembering it, good. If you're not able to remember, leave it, no problem, but read them. Yes, next is half long blood or winter keeper. And nextly long is long dark blood is the variety. These are all actually exotic, so nobody is going to ask in our exam. So I have already mentioned this point, and again I'm going to mention this point, that those who prepare the question paper are the scientists or the professors. They have worked in those crops, so they will be mostly asking Indian questions only. They will not ask exotic questions, because they will ask on what they have worked. So then generally that's the reason why they say you have to follow ICR material, you have to follow ICR question papers and all, because what so bulletins and all ICR is preparing, that is nothing but the scientists and the professors of working at ICR preparing. So they will obviously ask the questions on what the work they have done. So all these are actually not important for you to remember, because all the beetroot varieties are exotic in nature. And why don't we have varieties or hybrids released in beetroot? It is a very important question. This question actually I was asked for me in a written question of IRI. We will discuss that also. So variety of beetroot. When coming to beetroot variety, am I very fast? My If I'm going very fast and you're not able to catch my speed, then let me know, I'll just reduce it. Nextly, Detroit dark red, so recommended for cultivation in India. So most of them are actually exotic, so only those after being adopted to Indian conditions and after the selection process, we those are released for cultivation in India. So recommended for cultivation in India is Detroit dark red, which can grow under heavy soil conditions also actually, and it is a high yielder as well. Mm. Nextly, Crimson Globe, which is roots are globular to flattened, medium red with small shoulders. So globular, Crimson Globe, globular. This is enough. You need not remember a winter breaker, that this not required actually in case of beetroot. So this is Early Wonder and Cross by Egyptian. Nextly, varieties of turnip. When you come to a turnip, again we have the Asiatic and European, where in Asiatic you have Pusa Kanchan, which is a selection from between the Asiatic red and the golden ball. So after a cross between Asiatic red and golden ball, those progeny which was obtained, that F1, after the selection in the F1, the Pusa Kanchan which is released. So Kanchan, the name itself says it has some yellow color in it. It's not complete white in color, it's off white in color. So Asiatic red into golden ball, Pusa Kanchan. Next is these roots generally have longer staying capacity and excellent flavor and taste. Nextly, Pusa Shweti. This is the off-season variety and it has attractive white roots and generally grown in the months of October. So it is Pusa Shweti off-season variety. This is the point that you have to remember. Next is European types. If you come to European, so only two we have discussed, the Asian and the others are European. So Pusa Swernima, Japanese white into golden ball, and Japanese white into golden ball. Remember the cross. Next, Pusa Chandrima, that is Japanese white into snowball, which is again an early maturing variety. Nextly, snowball, that is early variety with medium sized roots. Skin color is white, right? The name says snowball. It is white in color. Purple name says it's globe, so it's a globular shaped root. So name itself says purple top white globe, so it has the top portion to be purplish red in color and the lower portion to be white color. Cultivation practices in root crops, if you come, then what is the main important point? The pH, or you can see all the pH lies in between neutral. Nobody is growing in acidic soils. All the radish, beetroot, turnip, all are in neutral soils only, almost neutral soils. So 6.6 to 7, 5.5 to 7, 6 to 7, so there. And the most important thing in case of root crops is they are not flower aerial portions, they are underground portions. Even in case of potato, I was mentioning the same. The temperature is very important. The soil temperature, this is very important. The air temperature is also very important here. So the seed germination, point to point they will ask the same in net exam, 7.2 to 23.9, same. Even with point they will ask the same in the exam. So 7.2 to 23.9, no option. You have to remember the seed germination, all the temperatures here in this slide actually. And nextly, for the root growth, ideal temperature is 18 to 24. That's what I was telling, the normal temperature, that is 18 to 24. And for European carrots, they need a vernalization of 4 to 6 weeks for 4.8 to 10 degrees Celsius. And general seed stalk means we were saying that the Asiatic roots can grow the root stalk in normal conditions also. So that is 12.2 to 21.1 degrees. Coming to radish, which root growth of 10 to 15, even low temperatures of 10 to 15 it will grow, but the optimum temperature is up to 21 or 22. And radish generally becomes more pungent if it is grown under high temperature conditions, and it does not grow well at all if it is grown under very low conditions. So long day and high temperature causes bolting in radish. Means already I have told in many previous classes that under adverse condition whatsoever plant it is, it will try to reproduce. So the unfavorable, if it's a cool season crop, then high temperature is its unfavorable condition, then it will produce the seed stalks because it wants to reproduce and dry. So similarly, the long day temperature and under long day and high temperature conditions, the bolting occurs. For beetroot, we have the seed germination temperature 12 to 16 degrees, and the root growth is similar to that of carrot, that is 18 to 21 degrees, and tolerant to freezing compared to any other root crop in this particular slide. And it is at high temperatures, it has zoning. At high temperatures, radish has bolting. Nextly, turnip, which is also resistant to frost. And here Asiatic types are more tolerant to heat than the European types, not only in turnip but also in beetroot and carrot or radish, anything wheresoever it is, Asiatic types are more tolerant to temperatures. You have to remember, most importantly, the carrot temperatures. The others you remember, that's good actually, but if you can't remember, carrot is the must, you have to remember, that's it. After carrot, next beetroot temperatures are important. Nextly, coming to the seed rate, so Europeans have 5 to 6 kg and Asiatic have 10 kg, because the Europeans are generally round in shape, and means they are growing horizontally compared to the Asiatic types. There the spacing difference can come, that's the reason why they are having less seed rate. Nextly, we will complete carrot first. So European is 5.5 to 6 kg, Asiatic is 10 kg. And nextly, the sowing depth, if you come, that is 1.5 centimeters. If you sow very deep also, the roots they cannot come. So here you can you can see that carrot has a less amount of sowing depth compared to the radish, beetroot and turnip, because here carrot is very susceptible. If you sow it deep, it will not going to come, and it has more tendency to comparatively to have more physiological disorders such as cracking, splitting and all is more in carrot. So very shallowly 1.5 centimeters is enough, and the spacing is 30 to 45 into 4 to 5 centimeters. If the roots are very small, and if you are growing in high temperature conditions, you can reduce the spacing size from 15 into 4 or 5 centimeters. General spacing is 45 into 5 centimeters or 30. This range you have to remember. So root crops, almost all the row to row spacings are 30 to 45 only. You can see here almost. So you just remember the number here. Oh, beetroot ka 35 to 45 diya, mujhe 35 remember. I no need, you need not remember 35. You can remember as 30, or because it depends on the textbook. They take from all authors who have worked on the crop and they have published papers, and then those things are brought with references to your textbooks. So that's the reason there may be option like 35 is written, but you need not remember. You have to remember the range. You should know the crop. That is the ultimate like exam is conducted. Why? Because they want to see the level of understanding of the crop, who is having better understanding comparatively is what is checked in your exam, right? So that is the range you remember. And nextly, Asiatic, you go for sowing in the months of August to October, and temperate in the month of October to December. Why do you doing like that? Because Asiatic can grow well in little high temperatures also, whereas temperate cannot grow like in high temperatures. They need a little cold temperature. So October to December. Coming to radish, which is tropical seed rate is 8 to 10 kg, whereas the temperate seed rate is 10 to 12 kg. Nextly, here you can see a reverse. In carrot, we had the European being 5 to 6, but here in radish, temperate is 10 to 12. To try to compare and then remember, you'll remember it better. Nextly, similar like other radish, beetroot and turnip follow the same sowing depth of 2 to 3 centimeters, 2.5 centimeters, 2 centimeters. So deeply sown than carrot. And nextly, the same spacing also. Like here, when it is carrot, it was 4 to 5. But when it is for other root crops, it's 8 to 10, 10 to 15, 10 to 15. Like the range has come to 10, double. And similarly, the Asiatic carrot radishes are sown in the months of August to January, and the European August. And beetroot, the seed rate is 7 to 10 kg, and grown in the months of March to July if it's hilly regions, and northern plains it would be September to November. Whatsoever, if it is a root crop, it has to be sown only after August, means from the months of October. That is one point. You cannot go and sow it in this rainy season. It is October, you have to remember, only after October. And nextly, this row to row spacing will be pakka 30 to 45. The plant to plant spacing is less for only carrot. Comparatively, others are in the range of 10 centimeters. So just have a comparative reading and read it again and again and again, and automatically you will remember things. And nextly, turnip, it is 3 to 4 kg is the seed rate. Comparatively, very less seed rate. Nextly, the recommended dose of fertilizers not required, leave it, because it varies very drastically from variety to soil also. Harvest, it's very important that attains when this root attains 2 to 4 centimeters at the upper end, means those part, the collar region, when it attains about 2 to 4 centimeters, then it is harvestable in carrot. And after 25 to 55 days and the tops of the root attain a diameter of 5 to 10 centimeters, then radish. And when the diameter of beetroot attains 3 to 5 centimeters, then beetroot. And then for turnip, it is 7.5 to 10 centimeters. You can here remember that radish and turnip are having almost a similar maturity size, whereas in carrot and beetroot, again, they are similar to have the maturity size. Coming to yield they won't ask mostly, but in NET exam they will ask, but not in JRF and SRF exams. Asiatic roots will have 20 to 25 tons per hectare, whereas European will have less yield, that's 10 to 15. Similar values here also, like Asiatic having 10 to 20. You need not so bother fully remember these. You remember that Asiatic has more yield than European, that is enough. Nextly, physiological disorders in root crops, very important. And in that too, in carrot, it is more important. Why? How do we decide that some things are very important than other things? What is commercially running in the country? What is commercially acceptable in the country? Those things are actually important. Compared to carrot, beetroot, radish, and turnip, carrot is most acceptably and eaten by people. So carrot is more important crop. So problems coming in carrot are more important for us to read. Similarly, you have to decide between things like this is important and this is not important. So what is common is important, that you remember. So carrot, splitting and cracking. Actually, there is a difference between splitting and cracking also. Crack is something when, I don't know, I have already told you this or not, but okay, cracking is something that occurs under deficiency. So if you're not giving water to the soil will crack, it will not split. That is the difference. You have to try to understand. Crack is something when you don't have it, then it is cracking. So cracking is type when you don't have sufficient amount of nutrition getting, then it cracks. Even if your legs and all, if your हमारी एडिया ये सब कब it dries when you don't give sufficient amount of water. So cracking is deficiency, whereas splitting is overdoing it. So एक balloon में if you're giving more of air, it'll split, it'll burst. So split is something that comes when it is overdone. So split, when you look at it, it looks similar. Ultimately it is फोड़ना ही है, it is ultimately breaking only, but it is different. Splitting is different from cracking. That you have to know in general context. I told this, that's it. It's not, nobody is going to ask you in exam, but you have to know the difference. So it is a characteristic expansion of the inner flesh and results in root being in split into two pieces, exposing the skin outside. So technically both of things sound same, look the same, but actually are because of different causes. So what are the reasons? The reasons can be a genetic factor. Early cultivars are more susceptible to this kind of splitting because they are early, so they want to actually complete within 60 days, 70 days, 80 days their growth, but you go and give the fertilizer in that time, then it cannot take it because it's already in the stage of senescence. So it splits, it has no space, but still it will take the nutrition and it will split. So irrigation after a long dry spell, so this will cross cracking. This third point, irrigation after a long spell actually crosses cracking, whereas early cultivars are more susceptible. Why? Because if you give nutrition or any other required nutrients to it in the last stage, then it will get split. So high soil concentration of ammonium compounds and ammonia is very much associated with this physiological character called splitting or cracking, and large ones are suffered when compared to small ones. So large ones have more chances of being split or cracked. So growing resistant varieties, you don't have any option, and maintaining good agronomic practices is must and should for any problem that you have. Next is cavity spot, which is calcium deficiency. So here very important bit, cavity spot, calcium deficiency, and appearance of cavity in the cortex. So in the cortex you see some cavity or shallowness in the root. Why? Because the epidermal cells, means those epidermis of the carrot is collapsed there, it becomes pitted, it becomes lesioned. Why does it happen? What is the reason? Because of the calcium deficiency. Calcium is very important to bind the cells. If the calcium is not there, the cells won't be having that. The cell wall is made up of calcium, the intercellular spaces are bound with calcium. So if there is no calcium, then the roots, the cell collapses. That's the reason you have lesions are there. That's you have to remember like this. Okay, calcium nahi hai, that's ho gaya yahan pe here. So like that you have to remember. Nextly, by induced which may be induced by excess of application of potassium. Also calcium ka deficiency, excess amount of potassium application are all is also a reason. Next, foliar spray of calcium nitrate. So this is like a common sense point. I don't know how many of you know or you don't know. What is the thing is, if you are growing carrots and you want to give fertilizer, you and already if you're in the very initial stage, your root initiation has not started, then you can go for any nutrient application in band form, or nutrition can be given through fertigation. But if your roots have already formed, then you have to always give foliar application. You should not go and put banding or drenching. You should not do in that time, because the root cannot take all that at that stage. Foliarly, slowly you have to give for the root to bulge, but you should not never give in the form of band when the root initiation has already started. Next is bitterness. So why we know bitterness is nothing but the glutamic acid content is increased, then you have bitter roots. So this pre-harvest stress means improper irrigation or high exposure to high temperatures, and mixing of commodities with other commodities, like because of the respiratory imbalances. And nextly, exposure to high ethylene content can cause the bitterness. Important points is exposure to ethylene conditions, pre-harvest stress. These two are important. So here we can see, and the bitter knot, this is just, it looks like some fungus attack, but it is because we cannot show an image how it is, how bitter it is. Okay, just leave it. Nextly, forking. So forking is forking or formation of doubles. So this is because the name itself says forking, means it has formed more than two roots. So it can be seen in carrot and radish, not only but you do not see it in beetroot and turnip. So that is the genetic character of forming the carrot and radish. So symptoms are secondary elongation of the growth. So secondary elongation, we all know how it comes. Now, the reasons may be heavy soil due to compactness and application of undecomposed organic manures. So if you do not give, so well decomposed organic manure only should be given. If you, not only for root crops, if normal crops also are there, if some crop is there, it is leafy vegetable, tomato, whatever it is, you go and put undecomposed then the leaves will start yellowing and the plant will die very soon. It causes a very, because the decomposition will start at because it's an undecomposed organic matter, right? So after you put it near the plant, then it starts becoming decomposing. When it's decomposing, plant is a living body. So because of the fumigants coming from the decomposing matter also, the plant starts wilting actually. So, and as if in aerial part only that much of effect is there, then the root is something that grows in under the soil conditions, then how careful you should be with the organic matter. So that's why you should not go for undecomposed organic matter, and soil should not be compact or else it will start breaking and splitting. So sowing of the seeds in sandy loam soils, so that there is much aeration and freeable soil, so that the root can grow properly, and by reducing the soil moisture stress. Next, pungency. Pungency is a major problem when it comes to radish, because under high temperatures the radish pungency increases. So increase in pungent compound, that is 4-methyl thio-3 butyl isothiocyanate. This and all, actually in our exam we have to write, our my ma'am here working under radish. So they'll ask to write 4-methyl thio 3-butynyl isothiocyanate in exam for us, and in options, if this is there, 4-methyl thio, if Padmini ma'am is giving you the question paper for radish, then she will have the option, like she'll be giving. So then it's not isothiocyanate alone. Then you have to pick the option of 4-methyl thio 3-butynyl isothiocyanate. Why I'm stressing like this is, you need not be worried when you see when you read yourself, this is so big name, I'll not read it. You should not be like that. You should have a complete coverage of the syllabus. Then let whatever comes in the exam, then decide the things. So you should not prior itself leave the things ki I will not read this. Next is due to high temperature and water stress conditions, the pungency can increase, and the proper water management is very important here, so that the growth is regulated normally. Nextly, pithiness. Pithiness is excessive root growth, means becoming fibrous in nature, where which is the parenchymatic cells in the root tissues are generally collapsed, because of which it becomes very fibrous in nature, and the development of pores in it. So pithiness is, so the major reasons can be delayed harvesting and genetic factors. After harvesting, if you are not at all harvesting it, you are leaving it like that, then all the parenchymatic cells will actually collapse, and then go to the next step, that is decomposing. But before that, if you harvest and eat, then it is very pithy, it is very fibrous in nature, with very holes also will be formed in it. Next is harvesting should be done at appropriate time, and growing of resistant cultivars. Bolting, not only in radish but to any stalk, but among all the root crops, all the 4 root crops are given in the exam as options, and they are asking bolting, then radish is the answer, because radish is more susceptible to bolting. Means acacian, very important in case of radish. It is a stunted root growth, and it is due to the boron deficiency and exposure to high day and night temperatures, means high temperature. So application of borax is the remedy for it. And acacian is the boron deficiency, important. Brown heart or internal black spot, which is mostly seen in beetroot. So this is because the plants remain very stunted and rough in shape, and overall growth is also very stunted, and you see splitting of the root. If you cut the beetroot also, internally also you can see that black color lesions, black color tunnel like things in the beetroot. So reason is boron deficiency. Beetroot, but to any crop, boron is mostly deficient in alkaline soils, and for this you have to go for 11.2 kg per hectare, not only 11.2 but borax 10 kg per hectare. It concentrations actually always vary and are case sensitive. Application of borax is the answer. And tip burning. Nextly, tip burning, which is also mostly seen in beetroot, because beetroot is a cold season crop. So under normal conditions also it can experience the tip burning conditions. So necrosis appears at the margins of the leaves, and the leaves become distorted. So if the leaves are distorted, then the problem is the root development will be very slow because of the less photosynthetic accumulation. So calcium deficiency, accumulation of potassium is the main reason. Foliar spray of calcium nitrate. And seed production in root crops, which is also very important. Can I close here, because I think we will discuss seed productions differently, or you want me to continue? Anybody can respond. Yes, am I audible or not actually?
Yes, ma'am, audible.
You will continue the seed production, or you want all seed productions differently?
Yes, ma'am, differently.
No. Can
yes,
you repeat, guys? I could not hear. Sorry.
Okay. And differently on seed production.
Yes, you want separate seed production?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have some chat here. Okay, then we will have differently on seed production. That will be more helpful. We can compare also there. because here seed production is again you will have more, means now also you'll feel very much stressed because 4 crops we have already completed. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock we'll have another class. There we'll cover other crops, and then we will go for seed production, male sterility, mechanisms, all in different classes. So I'll end up here. If you have any doubts, you can ask now or you can ask in the group as well. Okay. Yeah, shall I I'm closing the class then. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, one question.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
like to
Somebody has some question. Yes.
Ma'am, what is this self-called
You
or
can type
self-colored in?
type the question, Ma. Can you type
Okay,
the
ma'am.
question?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So what will be the topic for the next class? Actually, I have not decided yet. I'll make up as quick as possible. I'll see which information I have more. I'll make it into a PPT. I have not decided. I'm sorry. Okay. Mostly, I think it will be Brassicae only, because Brassicae I prepared for last time. So I didn't cover it. No, I'll complete Brassicae first. That will be more easy for me because tomorrow morning only. No. Okay. Tomorrow mostly Brassicae, guys. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, then if you have any other questions, you can just let me know in the WhatsApp group. Okay, tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock again, we'll meet. Yes, who is that Jay Matadi in the group here? Who is that? He's not in the class right now. He was so eager for class. Who is that? Only 6 members. In that, I'm only one. Okay. Okay, if not being so curious in the group for the class, if you attend the class, that will be much more good. I don't know who it is, so whomsoever it is. So yes, okay, thank you everybody. Let's meet.
Thank you, ma'am.